sure my microphone's all
Sounds
situated.
like it's working.
It's working, great. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's really delightful to be here. As was mentioned, I'm Maggie Dethloff. I work just next door, almost, at the Cantor Art Center at Stanford, and it's really my pleasure to be here to see the beautiful campus, to hear beautiful, incredible, really talented musicians, the music wafting out of the doorways. And I'm excited to be here in conversation with Mark Chen. Just for a little background information, we have a show up at the Cantor Art Center right now called Second Nature, Photography in the Age of the Anthropocene, just thinking a lot about landscape, the human impact on the environment, and many of the artists are thinking about this concept of deep time, the sort of rock time of the earth. And so when I was invited to do this conversation with Mark, I was especially excited because here we have rock time meets cosmic time. And so really excited today to be moderating this conversation. So I want to jump right in, stop blabbing on. So Mark, why don't you tell us why the star imagery? How did you come to this project? Why don't we start there?
Do you have a whole day?
I think we do, right? Yeah.
Well, before I answer that question, I just want to say that I feel a severe inferiority syndrome among musicians. First of all, I played the violin when I was a little kid, but I sucked. And then later on, I became such a big fan of classical music. I married a cellist. And the Woos are, full of musicians, right? And the Woos also marry other musicians. Two of them are your directors here. And I feel like I'm a visual artist, right? But I feel like visual art and music actually triggers or intrigues different part of your brain. So together, they are actually the fullest experience for art. So I always loved music, but before giving up to be, producing it. So I'm the biggest consumer of music. Let's just put it this way. But then I choose to be a visual artist to express myself. And many times I feel like music inspired me to do something visually, right? So to answer your question, so as you can see, this is a landscape photography, but there's a strong presence of science in there, right? So as a little kid, I was hooked by the stars very early. So here's a proof. I'll show a slide. As me, probably 5 years old, and we went to a book fair. My mom said, pick any book you like. Let's buy one nice book for you. And I picked that one. And you can see on the page, it's about space. So since then, I started something that I want to talk to all house guests about the stars. Involuntary, they have to listen to me. So I remember, there's a guest, an uncle or aunt sitting there, and I will make face to my mom thing, and my mom will introduce me with a mix of embarrassment and pride, saying, number 4, which is how I'm called because I'm a 4th son. Number 4, want to tell you about the stars. Then I will go on and on and on. And this lasted quite a few years, actually. Okay, so this is the evidence of that. This is the beginning of it. And here's another photo. So that's me holding a Kodak Brownie. Do you know what's the significance of a Kodak Brownie? It's a first mass-produced camera. It's the great-great-great-great-great-grandpa of your cell phone. Here, this is a predecessor of that. We have one at home. We never had any film for it. I think at that time, even at my time, that was old. So imagine that. That's old for the old. So I remember that morning, my mom came to me and said, I'm going to take a photo of you taking a photo of me. So take this. And she stepped back and kneeled down, and I pointed at her, and she went click. and this happened. So these two things both came to me very early, and I feel, pretty hooked by both, right? So, but eventually I didn't study astronomy because it wasn't offered in Taiwan. They still don't do that in Taiwan because it's not very practical, is it? And Taiwanese seem to think very practically about education. So, so this explains why I have these two things in mind. So fast forward, I became a photographer, and eventually I got my degree in art. And then the golden age of, astronomy came, with this James Webb and Hubble, right, producing these stunning images. And I've been drooling over them as a visual artist, pondering the question of how can I make this art? You see, the challenge is this isn't created by any human being. This beauty is created by Mother Nature, right? And the instruments like Hubble or James Webb are our contribution to this, right? We can observe them so nicely and produce such stunning images, but they are not art. They are science, right? So my question for myself is, how can I bring this into the art gallery and art museum, okay? And I've been thinking about that for so long, and this is another example of the Andromeda Galaxy. So eventually I found the answer after many failures and many lukewarm ideas that I couldn't execute well, and which is Pilgrimage of Light, my current project. So a very long answer to your question.
Amazing. That's a fantastic answer to my question. And it reminded me that there was more that I was supposed to say at the beginning, which was that we're going to have a conversation for about 40, 45 minutes maybe. There'll be time for questions at the end. And then we're going to go next door to Stent Hall to see Mark's work in person. So if you have time, please stick around for that. And of course, you can ask Mark more questions in person during that time too. So thank you for that reminder.
Sure, and thank you for that reminder.
Yes. Okay, getting back to it, I'm dying to see more pictures of your work, and I'm really curious how you came up with this idea to combine the pictures of stars
Yes.
with geological formations. I mean, what is the sort of science behind this, so to speak?
Right. So, sort of circling back to that, the first question. So, how do I put this two things together, right? So, I've been thinking about that for very long and wasn't successful until one day, I thought about landscape. Okay, so I thought of landscape. So, like Ansel Adams, right? If you don't know him, he is the sort of the biggest name in landscape photography. He photographed lots and lots of national parks, lots of natures, and this is his work for Grand Canyon. And it struck me that maybe I can piggyback spacescape on landscapes. Maybe they can be combined because spacescape is exotic, but landscape is a tradition in visual art, right? It's not outlandish. So then I thought, how about time? Because geology, we're talking about tracing to the Earth history of 4.8 billion years, right? And we also know that the speed of light is limited. So when you look very far, you're actually looking back in time, right? Like Andromeda is 2.5 million light years away, and many of them are hundreds of millions of light years away. And James Webb now can look at billions of light years away. That means those lights are billions of years old, right? You are not looking at now. You're looking at way, way, way in the past. So maybe they can match. So this is the idea. Okay, so this is one example. Well, NGC 3314 is a stunning galaxy. It's 150 million light years away. So that means what we are seeing now, the shape of it, is 150 million years old. Okay, so the light travels across space, and we have Hubble to capture it. And it beams down to us so we can see it. And then let's go back to the same time. So how about Earth? Earth 150 million years ago was dominated by them, dinosaurs. Okay, not us. We only appear way back here, right? So the galaxy and the Earth history traveled through space and time for 150 million years, and you and I happen to be alive at the end of it, okay, including me, who travels to a site that I researched is exactly about 150 million years old. And I brought with me an archive of slides, which includes that galaxy. And I will go make a projection. I will project them live onto the landscape, and I take a photo of it. So that's the idea, right? So you're actually looking at a visual artist statement. Okay, so this is an illustration of how this works. So on that very trip, I produced this image. So this is Beastie Badlands, NGC 3314, and 150 million years behind them. And a very busy sky. You see those dashes in the sky? Airplanes. Because this happened to be a very busy route for air traffic. So it actually has all the assets. It has the sky, the earth, and human, right? But I don't like to actually photograph human, you know? I'm not into selfie at all. I like nature. So if I want to imply that this is not human, I like to do it like this. So dashes in the sky, you know. So, and interestingly, this project was very scientific, and I thought this is so nerdy, right? But it turned out to be much more physical than I thought. Because, I didn't think about the hiking part, right? I need to get there, right? Okay, so here's a proof. So this is me hiking in BC Badlands. So far I have hiked quite a few different places. This one turned out to be the most difficult one to navigate because now the trails are marked. It's like a maze. So I have to navigate myself on old trail on my cell phone almost literally every 10 seconds. If I don't look at it every 10 seconds, I will be lost. So the video was taken by a drone that follows me. Okay, so I'm looking at my cell phone, and that bag is 60 pounds, 5 pounds over the luggage limit. Okay, and I got lost, and now the drone was lost. And say, hey, I'm here. Okay. So the drone that follows me, you can see how the way I walk it's really 60 pounds, 55, 60 pounds, okay? So this is how I got to that place. And you can see that. You see that little ancient, water mark there, but it is basically no marked trails.
What?
And on the same trip, I also produced this image, which is a pillar of creation on alien throne. This is really exotic, very difficult to navigate, but very rewarding.
It seems like it. It's an incredible image, and it really gets that sense of the exotic or alien feeling to it. I mean,
Yeah.
Alien Throne, you couldn't have picked a better place, and how interesting that the two are the same age.
Yeah, and can I tell a very interesting story afterwards, which is I look at the shape of that alien throne, and I look at the shape of pillar of creation. I thought, this is uncanny.
Yeah.
They have uncanny resemblance.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't put too much thought to it because, my job is still an artist. I'm not thinking too much about science when I'm there. But I made a shot, and then I went to AAS, American Astronomical Society, which is a very prominent organization because, many important theses were introduced there. So a scientist came to visit me, a PhD in astrophysics. And Dr. Hart is with Space Telescope Science Institute, in short, STSCI. And this image is actually produced by their scientists. So NASA always say that you have to give credits to us. And luckily, the poster that she saw has a credit. And so when she say, oh, that's ours, and I thought, whew, I put the credit there. And then, so I tossed her the question. I said, I always wonder why the alien throne and pillar of throne are in such harmony. She said, because they are both eroded. So what she meant is, of course, the alien throne is eroded by weather, right? Pillar of creation happened to be a star nursery. So lots of baby stars, and baby stars creates very strong radiation and blows the dust, the interstellar dust, into the shape of those things.
Wow.
So they are both eroded, so no wonder they look similar. So it's Earth erosion versus space erosion.
Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. Wow. It reminds me of convergent evolution, too, when you have two animals that have evolved the same characteristic completely independently. So how incredible that, light years away from each other, we're seeing similar shapes, similar, colors and forms being created by not the same, but similar processes.
Exactly. So what
same name.
Yeah, so what you're referring to is like a bat and birds, right? Mm-hmm. They evolve in totally different paths, but they turn out to be similar and performing similar functions.
Yeah.
This is a good example.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I know also that most of the time you're photographing at night.
Right.
We just saw a video of how you've gotten lost in broad daylight.
You would think that it gets only worse, right? But it's actually not the case. It's very interesting. So during the day, you depend on your senses, right? You take your senses for granted. Mm-hmm. Oh, I walk this way, I walk that way, right? But during the night, for example, in that place, you don't see anything, right? So you shine the light, you only see a few feet in front of you. So I became, like, if you will, that's called like instrumental hiking. Instrumental flying, right? When you fly an airplane, if you don't look out, you look at only the instrument, that's called instrumental flying. So for me, when I hike out of there in dark, I only look at my cell phone. Mm. So I didn't get lost, right? I just need to make sure that I don't step into a hole or rattlesnake or something. Mm-hmm. But the direction, it depends only on the cell phone at that time. So that I feel most justified doing this only at that time. Don't do that on the crossroad, on the street, okay? But in there, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But hiking in the dark is such an interesting thing that I totally did not expect at the beginning of the project, but it turned out to be the most illuminating experience I ever had.
Did you catch the pun?
Thank you. Pa-dum!
Can you say more about that? I mean, tell us about your experience.
In hiking in the dark?
Yeah.
So I have, people ask me, have you ever gotten lost in the darkness? Mm-hmm. Actually, yes, nearly gotten lost, mostly because the trails are not marked, right? For a place like Grand Canyon, you will never get worried about getting lost because you cannot get off the trail. If you get off the trail, you'll fall off the cliff, right? So you don't have a choice, right? But in some places, I did have this experience of getting a bit lost. Then I realized, then I tried one thing. I turned off my headlight. So it became all dark, and then my pupils started to expand. And I started to see the shape of the horizon. And then I found my way. Wow. So, because if you think about that, headlights only shines, 20 feet. You don't see anything further than that. And because your pupils shrink, you don't see far. So you cannot find your way. So the best way to find your way is to turn the light off.
Sometimes that's great advice, even for non-hiking applications.
You see, I'm a philosopher in disguise.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I'd love to hear a little more about your working methods and like what your preparatory work, your homework is like. I know you have some cool anecdotes about Grand Canyon shots, and
Yes.
was it, in Yellowstone?
Yes. So, okay, so first of all, if you talk about homework, then there's a lot of homework. I estimated probably 1 hour spent out there, I probably spent 20 hours at home
Wow.
to be ready. So, for example, this is one example of my homework.
Oh, students.
Oh, you know, and the dogs didn't chew this up.
Oh my gosh.
So this is a spreadsheet I created, and I'm continuing expanding it. So this is a database of all the NASA or ESA, European Space Agency, or whatever agency out there, they produce the images. And most of them are public domain, so I can use them as long as I give them credit.
Yep.
So every line is an image. So for example, that one there that I show like a rose, you know, a galaxy like in shape of rose, I have the link to the website, I have the name, I have how far it is. It's 300 million light years away, and then some calculations. And also here you have the projects, right? Like I went to Grand Canyon, BC Badlands, and I marked the range of their geologic age.
Wow.
In a certain color. So I know, okay, these are candidates. These galaxies have matching look back time, that's how it's called, to the age of the geology. So I can produce this. So I go through them, and the next thing is get on like Google Earth and think, imagine, okay, this galaxy on that mountain, how does that look, right? So then I produce the slides. I made into slides, and there's a lab called Slides from Digital. Okay, so they take my digital file and then turn it into slides. I think the word slides is probably Greek to some of the young people here. So I will show you one slides in here. So they are the source of the projection. They are not digital.
Yeah, like little transparency.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's for the image. That's the astronomical part of the preparation. I love geology, but I wasn't like hooked when I was a little boy. So, but I also need to know geology, right? So, for example, this is a Big Bend National Park's geologic map. I had to study this because at the very beginning, when I thought about the idea, I thought KPG boundary. So what is that? KPG boundary is the boundary that marks the end of dinosaur. And the current theory is a meteor struck Earth and wiped them out. So on geology, there's a line called KPG boundary, and Big Bend has it. But nobody bothered to say where. They say near the west entrance. Okay, well, that's a lot of area to cover. So then I realized that this is what I can do. So I find a geologic map, and you see all these are color marked, right? Each color marking means a certain geologic age. And I found Cretaceous and Paleocene, right? Paleogene, actually. So that's KPG. K for Cretaceous, PG for Paleogene.
I see.
And if I see them side by side, that's a KPG boundary, right? So I found them, and I went to this place. That's exactly where KPG boundary is.
Wow.
And I hike to it. But there's more story about that. I don't know if you want to hear more hiking stories.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So this is where I'm supposed to be hiking. I thought, okay, I'm going to park on that road, and I'm going to hike to there. And it looks pretty easy. So when the day come, I did park the car there, and I started hiking, and I realized that the little ups and down here is like that high, right? The little hill is about the height of this building. So I feel like a little ants,
Yeah.
right? Except that I'm not as agile as I am at all. So I'm a very cautious person. And so far you probably feel like this guy is reckless. But actually, no, I'm very cautious. So what I did is I practiced During the day, when it was daylight, I hiked in and I hiked out. I thought, okay, I got that. And then when it turned dark, I hiked in, and I could never get to that spot, no matter how hard I tried. I just never circled around to there. So the first night, I failed without doing anything, right? So the next day, I practiced twice during the day. And then I also, solve other problems, like, what if I cannot find my car? So I thought, I turn on the blinker so I can see the car blinking in the dark. But then I thought, well, maybe a battery is going to drop that.
Yeah.
Then I Googled, it turns up like my hybrid Toyota Prius uses the big battery for the blinker, not the smaller 12 volt, so it won't die. Good. So I hiked in, I found a spot, and I took a photo and looked back and said, oh, here's my car.
Thank goodness.
Good. Yeah, I feel very, comforted. And I finished and I produced this image. So one of the first, and that's a KPG boundary right in the middle, in the galaxy that's 65 million light years away, which matches the age when the dinosaurs went kaput.
That's amazing. This is one of my favorite images in
Yeah,
the
is it?
series too. Yeah.
It didn't make my car now, so maybe should put it back.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
we should. In case you didn't notice when you came in, there's a merch table outside, and Mark has amazing cards. You can collect almost all of the Pilgrimage of Light images. Do recommend, but apparently not this one, but soon.
This one, yeah, it's interesting that I produced probably 50 of them so far, but only about no more than 30 are in my portfolio. Just some of them, I just feel like, it's like you have so many kids. You have to neglect some of them, right? You cannot love everyone. So eventually, in my real life, my strategy is I only have one, so no problem there, Marsha. But these images as my kids, some of them got, I think, unjust treatment from me.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So.
It's so subjective, too. I mean, one of the reasons that I really like this one is that it's sort of muted and meditative. And, of course, I love the really dramatic, majestic ones in your portfolio, too. But there's something about this one that just really sort of speaks to me. But I think that if we can pivot, I have been looking at this contraption behind you, and I'm sure everyone else has. So please, can you tell us about this? This
Sure.
is a projector, right?
Yes. Okay, so when I talk about projection, I'm not using the projection that projects this. It won't work. So, and I tried. So why they don't work? Because they are too heavy, right? And they are not powerful enough. So recall the rule of the inverse square. That means if you increase the distance twice, your brightness of a projection drops to a quarter. So very quickly, it becomes very dim, right? And if you talk about projector that's bright enough to do some of that, my larger projection, you're talking about a 200-pound movie theater projection, okay? I can do 60 pounds. I cannot do 200 pounds. Okay, so eventually I got a little depressed, thinking, well, maybe this is a dead end. Until one day I thought, what is a projector? And it struck me that a projector actually is the inverse camera. They both have lens, right? They both have the traveling light that's being focused. So let me actually show you this. So this is a camera, right? So the camera collects light and focuses it and put it on a sensor, or it used to be a film, right? So what is a projector? The projector is a reverse of that, which you replace the sensor with a glowing something, a LCD or a slide, okay? And then the light travels in opposite directions into the real world and make a projection. Of course, there won't be the back of her, only the front, right? Because it's only an image, right? So then that idea struck me, and then I thought, well, the only thing to make sure that it's the right idea is to try it. And I have plenty of old cameras, being a photographer my whole life. So I took apart. Okay, so something, gruesome is coming up.
Oh,
Okay.
it hurts.
So I took apart a film camera, right? And I turned it into, and I put something behind it, and I make it a projector. So this is eventually what I came up with. I gave it a name called POP. It's a projector of power and portability, okay? So you see the camera is still there, but then in the back, so they are looking at real stuff here. So this is the camera, but in the back, it has been modified to accommodate a slide. So here's a piece of slide, which you will see like that, right? So this is a flash. So that's the trick. There's no more continuous lighting because that needs power. A flash is very powerful. It goes pop, and it's very portable. So now my projection is not for you to watch. It's only for photography. It goes pop. So actually, I can demo that. Do you want to see it? But if the flash triggers you, close your eyes, okay? I don't want you to feel sick.
It's going to be a very, very
Very brief.
flash. Yeah.
So yeah, so I have to set this thing up. So this is why it's 60 pounds, right? 2 tripods, lots of lenses. That's why it gets to that heavy. So let me put this here.
And Mark, your projector, it's synchronized to your camera, right? So the
Yes.
camera goes off and it sets off the flash.
Exactly.
That's how you synchronize it.
So I have this, and I have another camera, which is not, taken apart, a real camera. And then this one does the projection. So can we dim the light?
Do you have the black?
Yeah, and then let me flip to the blank. Okay, and do you see that? Actually, the Andromeda Galaxy. So look for it.
Whoa.
It's actually pretty bright. You can see that. If it stays on, you will probably feel a bit blinded, right? But that's only a thousandth of a second. But that's enough to take a photo. So it's also interesting that people look at this and say, how could the national park allow you to do that, right? That's light pollution. And I said, well, you can barely see it. Actually, my wife Olive and my daughter Marsha, they both assisted me a few times. And when I tried to tell them to look for this, sometimes they just couldn't see anything. And I can barely see it myself, right? This is a very small projection. This is only 10 feet across. And the biggest one I have projected is 3,000 feet across.
Wow.
So actually, they are very dim. And it requires other techniques for me to make it work.
What kind of other technique are you doing? Like a long exposure or in post-production?
Good question. So can we have the light back on? Thank you.
Yes.
So I show you the biggest projection I have made so far, which happened during my residency at Grand Canyon. So that's 3,000 feet across. And if you see that light there on the top of the rim, that's Grand Canyon Village, population 6,000. So you give you a little sense of a scale. And to the very left end of that light is Vercamp Visitor Center, where I stayed. Okay, so that little house there. So the technique you were asking about actually has 2 major ones. First is multiple bursts.
Okay.
So you see one burst, right? So when it gets to that big, one burst wouldn't work because it's not enough. Again, reverse square law, right? So this one actually took 20 bursts. Pop, recharge, pop, recharge, pop, 20 times to accumulate. And then also, I divide this nebula into 2 slides. So each slide uses a more telephoto lens, which means the power is more concentrated.
I see.
So this one, 20 pops. That one, 20 pops. So you're looking at actually sort of 40 times amplification of how bright this can be.
Wow.
Only doing that can make this happen.
Yeah, incredible. And so
Thank you.
then on the camera that's taking the photo, that would be a long exposure, right? The shutter's open that whole time?
No, actually, it depends, right? If there's not a whole lot of interference of ambient lights, like the moon,
Yeah,
then I can have the luxury of having a long exposure, maybe keep the shutter open and pop 20 times. But if there's a moon or there's dusk or there's artificial light like a nearby city, then I cannot afford to keep the camera shutter open for that long because the ambient light will overwhelm the
I see.
projection.
yeah,
So at that time, I need to set the shutter still to a pretty high one, which actually will reduce ambient light and keep the flash.
wow.
That's actually a very common technique used in photography, but most people use it as a way of illumination, not for projection. I sort of take the same principle and give it a twist into making a projection.
Fascinating. I love all this like technical information, and as a curator of photography, it's one of the things that fascinates me the most because photography as a medium is essentially a technology. It is sort of science meets art at its nature. So
Exactly.
really picked the perfect medium to do this sort of art and technology investigation. And the fact that you've engineered your own special projectors just makes it even more impressive.
Thank you. It's also, it's interesting that you mentioned this. I feel like my whole life prepared me for this project.
Yeah.
The things I liked, right, and the things I'm passionate about, the things or should I say it, the thing I don't mind spending hours and after hours, and I won't get bored, are all here,
Yeah.
right? Even the fitness. I'm not young, but I've been pretty adamant in keeping myself healthy. So I play tennis, I do this and that, and then it came in handy.
Yeah.
Because the moment I thought, oh, yeah, I need to hike. Well, good that I have some cardio. So I could manage this. I could carry that 60 pounds. And also, I want to thank Liz, my niece, sitting right there, because I never hiked in my life. And then when I said about this to my family, they say, hey, you need to talk to Liz. She's an expert in the family. So she introduced me to REI, the store that broke my wallet. Since then, thank you very much. and all this basic knowledge about, what kind of things I should get, especially that backpack that can actually load that many pounds without breaking your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank you.
I have one more question before we open it up to the audience for questions. What is exciting right now? Is this work aside from here? Is it on view somewhere? What kind of fun projects do you have coming up? I know there's one with a collaboration with your wife and music in the mix. Can you tell us just a little bit
Sure,
about
yeah.
other things we can get excited about?
All right. So this image actually was not just my favorite. It turned out to be the favorite of the senior editor at National Geographic.
Cool.
So who published my work in March. So this is their webpage. And then it's also on their March issue of the magazine. So it's in there, and that image is right here. So if you, thank you. Thank you. It's a dream come true because I grew up reading National Geographic. I never could imagine that I will be in it. So it's also interesting. I have a friend who observed this and said, I think your work actually is, you're sort of stretching National Geographic's mission a bit because all their photos are much more photojournalistic than this. This is more conceptual. So I thought, wow, that's a compliment.
That's a great compliment.
Yep. So other than that, I have quite a few shows lined up earlier this year. So these are some of the. So this is some installation shots of my show at Wright Gallery. This is near Houston, Texas, where home is at Texas A&M University. And this is also actually there's a behind-the-scenes story which I told the students there, which is A&M happened to be where all my 3 brothers and 2 sisters-in-law went.
Wow.
And when it's my turn, they didn't want me.
But here you are. Here you are.
Yeah. So eventually, I was at least there to show, and then their professor is talking to me about, you want to teach here? That would be a big reprieve, So it was a very awesome gallery they have there, and I produced many big images, and then some of these are right here, like the Sombrero Galaxy you see in the middle. That's you will see in Stent. So do follow me to there to have a look. More shots from that place. This is I really good experience in showing there. And then later this year, my show was image was brought to Hong Kong in Hong Kong Art Week. So people over there can also sort of see, their country folk doing something different on the other side of Earth.
Really?
And then later, of course I'm here, so of course I brag about this. This is a major attention, so this is also on my website. Yeah, glad to be here. It's also, my visual artist friends sort of feel like, oh, you are in weird places. Like, this is not just our gallery. Music festival, and also the next coming up is an International Museum of Art and Science in McAllen.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then it's a perfect match, isn't it? So I look at the name, I thought, I have to propose to them, and then they say yes right away. And interestingly, when I went visit, I realized that their shows are actually either art or science.
Oh, interesting.
There's an art show, there's a science show. Then I look at the curator and say, hey, I'm the real art and science. You're going to have in one room. And he said, yeah, that's great. So this is coming up. Actually, some of the things are going to be packed up and shipped directly to McAllen. So that's answer to your question.
That's fantastic. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure to chat with you and hear about your work. Thank you all. So we've got a good 13, 14 minutes for questions, and whenever things get quiet, we'll head over to Stent Hall, so please stick around for that. But does anyone want to start us off with some questions? Oh my gosh, okay.
Have you ever thought about combining music and obviously astronomy or photography?
Yes, actually, Olive, my wife, the cellist, she has a piano trio. And we've been working on a piece which is going to premiere in a few weeks, actually. So that made me a little nervous because I haven't quite finished it. So it's going to be a live projection of space images and set to 2 pieces of music. One of them is a premiere by a Houston local composer whose name is Todd Frazier, called Rondo for Space and Time. And then also Olive transcribed the planets for trio. So not the whole thing, but Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. So I will be actually doing this thing called VJing. So instead of DJ, it's VJ, it's visual jockeying. So I have a deck, just like a DJ deck, but it's press, you project certain images. So, pretty much, it's kind of like going back to my first thing I said, that I have inferiority syndrome among musicians, and I'm a musician wannabe. And this is the closest thing I will get to play in an ensemble. So interesting thing to talk about in a chamber music festival, right? So they will go, bang, I press a button. And they even have to sometimes look at me for me to go, so wow, that's a dream come true too. You're welcome.
See, I saw a hand over here. Oh, exciting. Okay, there was in the green.
So you were speaking a lot about trying to match sort of the age of the image and the site. Did you start with specific images and then find sites of similar age that you wanted to photograph, or were there any specific sites that you started that you wanted to find an image to correspond to, or which order did that?
It's a very good question, and it's also a question about reality versus ideal. Okay, so at the beginning, I found a database for all the galaxies. Then it turned out to be totally unrealistic because only a fraction of them have been photographed, and some of them actually don't look too good. Like they would say, "Oh, NASA discovered a never before seen something," and you look at the galaxy, it's like a blob.
Wow.
Like, well, I'm not going to project that. It's kind of like a spotlight, So, and then, you don't have everything out there. You have a few things that's more interesting for some reason. Galaxies that's stunning, and you don't have all the geologies out there. You have something that is, they say, oh, so what is the oldest rock in the world? Well, it's in Australia. That's a little far, right? So, and then, you have national parks, and then, you have a certain range of age. Like Big Bend has a very wide range. Like Grand Canyon is from 200 million years to 1.4 billion years. So that's a pretty good range. So it's actually becoming a reality check. So that is why I created the spreadsheet. Because now, every time, I have a lot of Facebook friends that are landscape photographers. I've been stealing ideas from them. They didn't even know. Because they look at this, they post the image and thought, wow, that's great. What is that? And I found out, say, that's a west coast of somewhere in California. Great. Then I found out about the geology, 35 million years old. Great. What galaxy can I project? Oh, there's one. Bingo. So that's how it works. It's not, there's no set rule. You just see what serendipity brings for me to, So, it's a very interesting thing to think about because lots of people think that this is so pragmatic, so prepared. Actually, there's a lot of improvisation in there. Like I go to a place and I project, and I thought, that doesn't look right. They don't match. Like sometimes the galaxy and the mountain, they don't match. Like, you go on the date and you realize that, nah, So sometimes you have to realize that it doesn't work and then you try something else.
It looked good in the Excel spreadsheet, but she's not for you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Forget about her. Yeah.
Okay, we've got lots of questions. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
How long on average does it take you to make one photo?
Oh, very long. I have done a lot of different genres of photography, including photographing weddings. I have done 200 weddings, which is 150 too many in my lifetime, I think. Those are very quick, right? You go out and you shoot for 6 hours, you have 2,000 images. This, I go out for a night, go home with 2 dozens. And the first a dozen and a half suck. It's always starting from the one that sucks, because this is very difficult. This is the most difficult kind of photography I've ever done in my life. I have done a lot of different photographies. So because of the technique and the subjective condition, the air, the wind, wherever you name it, lots and lots of things are between me and a good night. So it's very, very slow. So I came home one night. If I have one good one that I can add to the portfolio, I will be very, very happy. So there's always, I need backup plans. So I cannot stay too short. That's one thing. One place I need to have at least 2 or 3 nights. Residency like Grand Canyon for a month, great, because I can do things, try, doesn't work, try again. So extremely slow, I just put it this way.
Yes.
Do you ever work with other art forms, specifically like
Yes. If you check out my website, I have collaborated with lots of different artists. I have currently also a project going on called the Phantoms of the Great Dying. So what we do is this artist, she's very good in drawing ancient creatures. So I look at her work. I say, hey, can you draw trilobites? And she drew trilobites. And I put trilobites, digitize it, and I project them. And so the concept for this project is that we call that Great Dying because the Permian extinction happened. Is it 150 million years ago? Something like that. Was the most major extinction event on Earth, in which 90% of the species died. So trilobites, we don't have any trilobites, but once on Earth they were the dominant creature. So I project trilobites in places like in the city. So in this time, I don't go to Grand Canyon. I don't get lost in the wilderness. I get lost in New York instead, and I project them. So the idea is the phantoms of the dead animals, the species, come to remind us that you are next. So, cautionary.
Using this method of projection that you have perfected in this way, have you ever photographed anything underground or underwater, or have you all?
You just get me into big trouble. With that idea. But let me correct you. It's not perfected. I'm still perfecting it. I'm actually producing in the plan of making another version of this. Yes, underwater is a great idea, but I don't dive. And yeah, they would know that three of us, Marsha, Olive, and I, we went to like a diving excursion. And then all of us said, nah. Not for us. So I need collaborator for that. So anybody dives here? Oh, you do? Okay, great. You're my savior. So I would, if I do that, I actually would like to try. I would collaborate with diver. And of course, I need to think about some kind of housing to seal this into something. I think it's doable. Yeah. Then you go pop. You project this on the coral reefs, maybe. But what will be the connection between them? I need to think about that. Or you can let me know if you have some ideas.
That's a great question. In the plaid?
The other side is more normal. They are digital cameras. They better be digital because I need to verify instantly if I made it, right? So, and also digital has a very high range of sensitivity, which makes it easier for me to make this work. So, just digital camera, but particularly with digital camera with good performance in low light, like very dark, not too much noise. The noise ratio is important. So I've been researching and I've been trying, and I know exactly which models have the best low light performance, like Nikon Z series, Z6 particularly, Canon R5. These are the current leaders in low light performance. And I also need to get a lot of very big lenses because, not f5, no, not f even 2.8, no, I need f1 point something. Right? We're talking about, if this all sound Greek to you, that's the aperture, the f value. The smaller the number, the bigger the aperture is. And I'm using, like this is a 1.2, right? I need big lens here, and also I need big lens over there, both sides. So light goes out as bright as possible, light comes back in as bright as possible. So I've been selling lots of equipment to secondhand stores in exchange for these lenses that I didn't use before. Nobody will use that in a wedding photography, right? So, yeah, it's interesting that how I have to use different stuff.
That's great. I think we have time for one more quick question.
Well, I just wondered, we're going to go over to see your work in Stendhal, but wanted to ask Mark if there's anywhere else in the area where people could see your work.
Okay. So currently in downtown Menlo Park, Peabody Gallery, and I think, Elisa, are you here? The owner is right here. Okay, so thanks to Elisa, who put together a very nice show. I have, how many pieces do I have? Like 12? 15? Yeah. I have 15 pieces there. In addition to 5 over here, you can see stand. That presents a good part of the portfolio. So you're welcome to go there. And what will be the hours and days?
Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, and Sunday, 8 to 5.
All right. So if you want to see more, you can go there. And the pieces are for sale. And I really like to be better funded. You can see that this is a very, it's not only laborious, it's actually also pretty expensive. Especially if I like to expand the coverage of the things I can do, right? And also that they are ambitious ideas. For example, projection angle. So now it depends on the terrain. I go up and down the terrain, right? What if I can project from a drone? That would be very nice.
Cool.
But you are talking about a drone carrying this, not a camera of that size. So we are not talking about DJI $800 drone. We're talking about a cinema drone for making movies about that size, and that is not $800. So,
Yeah.
so this if I can carry this into the sky with a drone and project downward, and I also can carry the camera for photographing downward, then the aesthetics, the possibility of aesthetics opens up, right? But that idea requires this.
Let's head over and see some actual photographs, shall we?
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's walk across to stands and I show the print.